So Ethan, first of all, congratulations. That's an incredible achievement. So can you introduce a little bit about yourself to the audience?
Yeah, of course. So my name's Ethan Crumrine. I'm from Bristol, Connecticut, and I'm a class of 2025 graduate from the University of Connecticut. My program was in civil engineering, and I was fortunate enough to get a job right after these past 3 years at Weston Sampson, where I'm working as a structural engineer.
That sounds amazing. I'm very curious. So what made you decide to finish college in just 3 years?
From an obvious perspective, of course, I'm saving myself a lot of money compared to if I had stayed for a total of 4 years. At UConn, at least for an in-state tuition without any scholarships, it's a little over $30,000 a year. So after 3 years, I'm almost $100,000 in debt. And if I had stayed another 4 years, then we're up to 120 at that point, 130. So from an obvious perspective, I'm saving myself a lot of money, and I'm able to get into the workforce a little bit early.
That sounds awesome. So was that something that you had planned since high school, or did it just kind of like happen along the way?
Yeah, so it's not something that I necessarily knew that I was going to do on the first day that I walked into high school freshman year. It was more so I would take some of these harder classes, these courses in high school that would transfer to college credit eventually, that I could use at UConn. And as I built up more and more of those from freshman to senior year of high school, it became more of a reality that I could graduate in 3 years if I wanted to. And so of course I had to weigh the pros and the cons, which I'll definitely talk more about in this video. And I had the credits, so I decided that I would save myself some time and effort and graduate in those 3 years.
Yeah. So did anyone or anything inspire you to make that decision?
My parents were they always left that decision up to me. Of course, my parents helped a lot with college tuition early on, but they had said if I want to stay for 4 years, that's my choice. They're still going to help either way. And if I want to graduate in 3 years, it's also my choice, because it's something that really only you can decide, because it's a big year of your life, you know, after your junior year of college, whether you stay another year and, you know, you make more memories in school, or you go into the workforce and, you know, hey, you're going to do that for the next 40 years of your life. So I would say it was mostly a choice that I decided on my own.
Yeah.
But I had support from my family and friends, no matter what I did.
Yeah, that's really cool. So when you first told them, like your family, your parents or your friends, so that you wanted to graduate in 3 years, so how did they react?
From my parents, it was relief, definitely.
Yeah.
My friends and my girlfriend at school, it was a little bit of a sadder kind of thing, because, you know, you might be graduating, but everybody else that you know and the people that you've talked to for the past 3 years and spent every single day, every single weekend here with. So it was a lot sadder to kind of make that choice and tell my friends. They were, of course, happy for me. You know, if anybody can do it, I'm sure most people would take that choice. They've all been supportive of me, you know, from the start, and they just want the best for me. And fortunately, I'm actually a graduate student here at University of Connecticut as well. So what a lot of people who graduate in 3 years, you know, they might not see their friends and, you know, their other college peers as much as I do. So I'm fortunate in that aspect that still get to see them some pretty
I'm glad
often.
to hear that. Yeah. So how did you manage to do that? Like, how many credits were you taking each semester?
So from my experience, I actually didn't really need to take any more than the average student would take. So I pretty much took 4 to 5 classes every single semester for 3 years. But that's mainly as a result of I came into college with about 50 credits from high school, which an average semester at UConn is typically 15 credits.
Okay.
So to put that into perspective, didn't have to do too much more than the average person.
So did you have to take class in the summer or in the winter?
No, I never took any winter or summer classes.
So let's talk about the pros. So what do you think were the biggest benefits of finishing early?
Sure. The biggest pro from my personal experience, it kind of relates to the current climate of this country right now. So me graduating in 3 years means I obviously went into the workforce at the start of 2025, but I had secured a job at the end of 2024 or middle of 2024. When the job market was doing pretty well. There was a lot of openings. So I was able to get in there early. Civil engineering companies were hiring like crazy due to the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act. There was a lot of projects that were open. But now with, say, this 2025 for these new graduates who are trying to get into the market, companies have started to pause hiring, especially in states like Connecticut where a lot of the infrastructure projects are losing funding. And for companies, especially in the civil engineering world that rely on that funding, you're obviously not going to bring on new hires if you don't have money coming in to pay them.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. So, but on the other side, so what are the cons of graduating in 3 years?
Yeah, I would say the biggest con for me is it kind of is just not being on campus every single day with your friends and my girlfriend. Because when you're on campus, I mean, even if you have classes every day, you could still, say, take a lunch break and go meet your friends, or even if you're just studying for an exam, you can do that with friends, and it makes life a lot more fun. Not to say that work, of course, can't be a fun experience, but everybody who's entered the workforce knows they would much rather be in college, you know, being able to have fun every single day than spending 8 hours at a desk.
Yeah. Did you ever feel like you missed out a lot of like typical like college experience, like parties or clubs, or hanging out with other peoples, or relaxing between class or semesters?
I think I was fortunate enough to be in a good group of friends, and then say good groups in like college as well, say with intramural sports or the club that I was in, Engineers Without Borders. So I feel like I was able to accomplish a lot in the past 3 years and was still able to have fun every single weekend and just hang out with people. So I don't think, of course, it would have been nice to do it for one more year, but I don't necessarily think that I didn't get the college experience per se. I was still able to go out there for 3 years, make the most of it, and make some unforgettable memories. So.
Yeah, that's great. So actually, I read an article on CT Insider about a really meaningful project you did during your college. About building the bathroom in a mountainous village in Peru. So that sounds incredible. Can you tell us more about how that project started?
Yeah, so that project was part of my club here at UConn, Engineers Without Borders, which I was fortunate enough to join as a freshman here at UConn. And I started as a normal group member, just coming to meetings every single week, and eventually I was able to become a project lead for our project in Peru, which takes place in the Andes Mountains with a pretty isolated village in Abramalaga, Peru. And the goal of the project was to basically help them achieve a cleaner water supply. So our main goal to do that was to create a couple of bathrooms in the community, because their water has been severely contaminated by open defecation, which, I mean, it's not their fault, of course. They have no access to clean bathrooms, and most of their waste has to go towards the water sources instead. So our club started this project before I even came to UConn, roughly in 2016, and we did an assessment trip, determine the site conditions and determine if this project was going to be possible, and meet the community members, make sure they were all on board with it. And then eventually we did build the latrine, and my group last year, we went to Peru and we visited the latrine. We did some water testing to make sure, or to see if there was any improvements in the local water sources, and basically to determine the community satisfaction and see what the next steps were going to be. So after that trip, we determined that we're going to build more latrines in the community and possible showers as well with hot water.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Using solar panels.
Yeah.
And so the next groups who are still in the club are going to work on that.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. So what inspired you to get involved in that kind of work at the beginning, especially while you were already, managing class schedules and, credits, a lot of credits?
Yeah, so my mentality is, of course, everything for the past couple of years has been super busy, and everybody's life here is busy in their own way. But I don't think you should sacrifice the stuff you enjoy doing and the stuff that you want to do to help make the world a little bit better. Even if, say, you have to do an extra homework assignment or you have to stay up late one night. I really enjoy volunteering, and of course, I enjoy engineering as well, as that's what my career is going to be in. But there was just something that stood out to me freshman year when I walked through the career fair, and it seemed like a really cool organization. And it's like, I don't care if I have to to lose sleep over it. It's something that I'm going to enjoy doing, and I have no regrets these past couple years.
So what was that experience like? So going to Peru and working on something that directly help people. So did it change how you see things, like maybe your perspective in life?
Yeah, definitely. It really makes you want to do what you can to make the world a little bit better. Every person, they might not be able to make a huge difference. We're not billionaires. We're just college graduates. Even if you graduate in 3 years, you're still in the same boat as everyone else, still in debt. But it definitely opened my eyes a little bit. I grew up in Connecticut my entire life, lived in a middle-class household, and I had access to pretty much everything I ever wanted. And you can't say the same thing for these kids growing up in these poverty-ridden places, such as these isolated communities in the Andes Mountains. And while we were there was a bunch of kids, instead of being able to go to school, they were busy farming the crops. And it's like, wow, at that age I was just hanging out with friends, going to school every day, and it opens your eyes. It makes you want to do better. And even though I'm a graduate from UConn now, there's still Engineers Without Borders has state chapters or international branches. So even once you graduate, you can still make these differences around your community and around communities across the world, even if you don't think it's possible.
That sounds awesome. So now that you graduated, do you think finishing early gave you an advantage, maybe in job hunting or applying to grad school?
Yeah, definitely. At least in terms of job hunting, I would say probably about 90% of companies really saw it as a good thing. It showed my ability to take on a heavier workload without necessarily dropping the quality of it, and it shows discipline to basically work for 3 years straight with the end goal in mind of graduating early and getting out into the workforce. But that other 10% of companies might see it as a bad thing. I was turned away from a couple interviews just because I might not necessarily have taken the classes that they would have expected somebody to take at this point in college. And unfortunately, it's just one of the things that happens if you do decide to take this path.
Yeah. You also did the internship before getting a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that helped make you more competitive in the job market?
Yeah, definitely if you don't have an internship by the end of your 3 years, I wouldn't necessarily recommend graduating early, because then you might end up in that position where you have a gap and you're not able to get a job because you don't have that necessary experience. But I was able to get an internship between my second and third years here at UConn, and basically able to leverage that in future interviews after.
So now looking back, do you feel like it was the right decision to make at that time? Any moments that you feel like you regret it, or you had any second thought about that?
Yeah, I think overall and long term that I made the right choice. I'm fortunate enough to be in the position where I am working a full-time job right now, and I'm able to basically start saving money earlier in my career. And of course, it's hard to look 40 years in the future and say, okay, I'm going to be able to retire a little bit earlier. But I think at the end of the day, I'll be happier. I'll be able to retire earlier and start exploring a little bit and getting out there in the world. And I'll be able to be a little bit ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
But of course, everybody's going to have those regrets where they wonder, is this the right decision? Because everybody, you think in the present. In the present, yeah, it's sad you're not doing another year at college, but you do need to look farther ahead in life and see what's the right choice 30, 40 years from now.
Right, yeah. So would you recommend other students to try to graduate early too?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a case-by-case position. I wouldn't recommend going out of your way, or extremely out of your way, and taking 6-7 classes a semester and sacrificing your mental health and ruining friendships and relationships that you've created just to save a little bit of money at the end of the day. Everybody, you're going to graduate college and you're going to get a good job and you're going to make the money. It just depends when you do it. It's not worth sacrificing your health, sacrificing your future relationships just to graduate early. But if you have that opportunity and it's not changing too much about your life, then definitely take the chance.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for your time today, Ethan. I think you've done an amazing job. You finished college early, doing meaningful project and landing a great job in the company right now. So I really appreciate you sharing your story today, and I'm sure our audience will find it very helpful. Thank you so much for your time.
Of course. Thanks for having me on.